Hi, my name's John Cordy, and I don't agree with what Mel Gibson said, and I think it's a little insensitive, but I'll still watch Lethal Weapon 2, obviously. I wanted to make a video today just talking about how the Strymon Iridium and chatting with Jason Wade made me rethink my approach to modelers again. New viewers to the channel might be aware or might not, but I did quite a lot of stuff with the Strymon Iridium and still do. But I was one of the kind of early people to put up lots of demos of it with lots of other pedals and do all sorts of stuff with it. Most recently I got a Fractal FM3 just because I wanted to dip my toes into the Fractal waters, if that's a thing, and see what people were saying about it and see if I could get on with it, see what kind of tones it made, all that sort of stuff. And I put up a video about my first impressions of it, and initial feelings were sort of struggling with the interface and an overwhelming sense of options. And so I guess it's a bit of a new feeling for me, but that option paralysis thing where people talk about it with modelers, you know, I've got this unit and don't really know where to start, or you know, I was always tweaking is one of these things that people say. And I think they talk about the distance between getting the unit and getting a tone that you're happy with so that you don't have to worry about tweaking. I think that's probably the goal with quite a lot of guitarists. I know that's why the Iridium has connected for so many people, you know, people that I know, people that have told me online, you know, that's what they like about it. It's the simplicity. They plug the thing in and they're not going to have to worry about all sorts of menus and stuff, and they're not going to have to worry so much about, you know, all the stuff that happens when you plug in a more complicated modeler. But so I was talking to Jason, friend and supporter of the channel, and he's American though. We were sort of discussing a few things, and you know, he's pointing me in the direction of some people that are helpful on the Fractal stuff. I had a mini revelation, and that was basically that in my music and in my life I use essentially 3 core tones. One is clean, one is mid-gain, sort of like a lower gain kind of solo tone, and then the other is a lead tone. And my rhythm tone is generally the same as my lead tone, but without the delay and without a boost. That's what I go for. I think it goes back to having a 3-channel mezzo boogie potentially when I was growing up. But you know, if I'm playing a wedding, I'm going to need a solo tone occasionally. Most of the time I'm going to be using a clean tone, and then you know, if I'm playing some rock tunes, I'm going to need a distorted rhythm tone or overdriven rhythm tone. But that's basically how I approach the guitar and how I approach getting through a gig. You know, if it's a jazz gig, then I'm only really going to need a clean tone and maybe a boost if I'm taking solos, but maybe not a boost depending on the size of the ensemble. So I think going back to the FM3, I'd got into this kind of headspace of, well, I need to know how all of it works, which is, I guess, the wrong way to go about it. So my advice, again, is gonna bring me back to, if you're new to a modeler or new to modelling, just focus first on finding 1 or 2 sounds that you like. I've now got a handful of presets that I've put together on the FM3. If you wanted to try them, use the Buy Me a Coffee link and just tell me in there that you want to try the FM3 presets, and I'll send you a link to a Google Drive. I'm going to keep updating that with the presets and stuff that I put together as I go along, but there's a few in there that I'm really liking the sound of. I'm at the point, I think, where I could basically gig the thing happily because I like the tone that I'm getting out of it. But it's taken, what I had to do was basically, I found a preset that I like the sound of, and then whatever the cab was in there, that became sort of my go-to cab and my go-to delay and reverb, and that's sort of my template. And then I'm switching in bits and pieces, you know, like drive pedals or amps, but basically tweaking from that core template so that the sounds aren't changing too much. I think that's one of the things, you know, when you go through presets on modelers, there's such like a drastic difference between each of the tones and stuff that you end up getting like ear fatigue or something, but you start to hear the EQ changing across the presets, and then you just end up with like a constant kind of feeling of this kind of fizz stuff, potentially. That's what happens for me anyway. The FM3 and the Iridium, I think, are considered, top of class. People generally in the ABs that I did said that they felt that the Iridium, and also in comments and stuff that I've read online, feel that the Iridium, in terms of feel and sound, is a very, very good modeler. Up there with the Kemper and all that sort of stuff. But people still have the same issue, with these kind of fizz, talking about fizz. And FM3, I've seen people putting together their tones. They use all the same strategies that we've been talking about in the Helix world for a while, shelving low ends and shelving high ends to get rid of that kind of digital fizz. So I guess this means to me that there's a kind of commonality between most modelers. I think if people are using these same techniques to achieve better tones, then for me it means that probably we don't necessarily need to do too much comparing of devices, because the general kind of rules between each of them are going to be similar, and probably it's best for you to just find what works for you and what inspires you. And for that reason, I'm probably not going to do too many comparison videos of units. What I want to do more is show how I would get, or show tones that I can get out of each device, rather than just pitting them against each other, because I don't really want the comments to become like a Helix versus Fractal thing, or a Iridium versus Helix thing, or comments where people say this thing sounds 10 times better than this other thing, because to me it doesn't sound that way. To me it just sounds like two slightly different things potentially. And there's so many pro guitarists using Helixes out there. There's now so many pro guitarists using Iridiums. The Kemper has been out on the circuit for ages, and Fractal have been out on the circuit for ages. So I don't think it makes too much sense to say that one or the other is heads and shoulders above any of the others. I think each of them have their strong points. The Iridium is a strong point, which is that built-in simplicity and ease of use. The Helix has the strong point of an interface which was basically game-changing. And the Fractal goes down to this crazy granular level of detail. The Kemper, profiling amps that you liked and perhaps never thought you'd be able to have. But I think all of it really comes down to you want to basically find your tone that's going to get you through the gig. And for me, that's basically 3 tones. So I'm going to be getting a clean, a mid-gain, and a lead sound. And if you're on the channel, you probably have some idea of what that sounds like. So clean is generally for me actually clean. Mid-gain is probably what some other people would call clean. Like a John Mayer type solo tone perhaps. And then my lead tone is kind of in that Eric Johnson-y territory of like a smooth tone with quite a bit of delay and reverb, and that's what I'm going for anyway. And then my rhythm tone would just be that lead tone, perhaps with a few less mids and with the delay taken off and less volume. So that's helped me to think about how I'm going to be programming the FM3. As I say, if you want to try any of my presets for the FM3, use the Buy Me a Coffee link and just write in the comments there that you wanted to try them. As I say, there's a handful of them now that I really enjoy. Obviously it's taken me quite a lot of time to put them together, but I'm getting there slowly. But hopefully that's a vaguely helpful video. Instead of getting overwhelmed by the options in modelling, maybe just view it as trying to find the 1 or 2 amps that you like that can help you to get across what you're hoping to get across. And then hopefully that makes things quite a lot simpler. You're trying to put together 3 or 4 tones that are going to get you through a gig, and hopefully ones that inspire you. I think that's probably as simple as it and as complicated as it needs to be. Obviously there's room for experimentation in there, and you might be a person who uses 10 tones through a gig, or you might be a person who uses 1 tone through a gig. If you're a blues guitarist, you might just be a person who uses the volume pot to get you through the kind of spectrum of tone. But I think if you're new to the modelling world, just keep that in mind. You know, you're not necessarily trying to put together 20 different tones that are all kind of a little bit different. You're probably trying to put together a handful of tones that are going to get you feeling like you want to play guitar. Hopefully that was helpful. If it was, could you like and subscribe? As I say, if you want the FM3 presets, use the Buy Me a Coffee link and I'll send them over. And yeah, I'll catch you soon.